So when we talk about personal interest applications, a lot of times we're talking about entertainment. You know, the idea of downloading the Netflix application, watching Netflix on our phone. You know, as I go through my phone, I've got many applications that are particular to my lifestyle, to things that go on in my lifestyle. When we talk about lifestyle applications, that's a huge category. This can be things like Alto or Audible. I like to listen to audiobooks. It's part of my lifestyle. So somebody might call that they might call that a lifestyle application. They also might call that a convenience application or an educational application. Medical applications, of course, as we talk about software, a great example, the hospital here locally in Oregon, in Central Oregon, is getting ready to update their electronic medical records application. This is the application that runs pretty much the entire hospital. It's where they keep everything about a patient in there. It integrates with insurance companies who are paying insurance bills. It lets doctors from other states and other countries, for example, look at x-rays, look at CAT scans, look at patients. So suddenly, we're not limited to the medical expertise of doctors here in Central Oregon. If they have a unique case or something that's troubling on an x-ray, they can send it to the foremost authority on that region of the body, for example, or on that issue, heart disease or whatever, and share this information confidentially using encrypted data, etc. But it really improves patient care. Now, of course, the challenge becomes we've got to make sure that the system is secure, that people can't hack into it, that it is redundant, it's not going to go down, so that we know things like if a patient comes in, they're by themselves, they're unconscious, we're able to figure out through their ID who they are, and we start treating them. If they're a patient of our hospital before, or if the national database goes through, we're going to know that that person is allergic to this drug and we can't give them that drug to combat whatever's going on with the person. Okay, so amazing advances in the use of technology for better lifestyles, not just entertainment. So, of course, entertainment applications, some would say Facebook is an entertainment application. Does it really provide sort of a business value? And of course, the answer today is yes. If you have a business and you don't have a Facebook and you're not interacting with your customers and your CEO is not communicating with your customers directly, it's hard to do business these days. Convenience apps, and when we talk about those, those can be things on your phone that make your life easier, that make your life fun. Back to real quick, entertainment apps. I have Bitmoji on mine. I create a little emoji, looks like me, and send my wife a little emoticon that looks like me that says I love you, etc. Convenience apps, as I look to my phone, I don't know, maybe CNN, the CNN app on my phone is a convenience app, the Giphy app, Family Base app, definitely things like Netflix is entertainment, Newegg. So I do a lot of purchasing of technology stuff. Newegg would be a convenience app for me. Having it on my phone makes it convenient for me to shop for technology things. And then, of course, education applications, when we talk about those, well, on my phone, I have Udemy on my phone. I'm currently taking a class. Actually, I'm not currently. I took a class from Udemy. I'm going to take another one on penetration testing in cybersecurity after I finish the current certification I'm working on. I've got Udemy, I've got Coursera, I've got the Blackboard app on there, a lot of great educational apps that I can now take with me. I can educate myself during that 10 minutes that I'm waiting for one of my daughters, say, to get out of an activity. I get there, I've got 15, 20 minutes. I can either surf the web or, in my case, I'll read or educate and take a class online in 15-minute chunks when I have the time. So education certainly has changed. There is the opportunity today, and I think it's important to mention there are alternatives to college education in certain areas, of course. Now, certain fields, they want that degree. They have a rigor that they expect that you'll learn through that degree. But there are folks today that are taking that initiative and going out to Udemy. And for example, computer science, programming, they're taking a programming course and another one and another one and another one, and they're learning on their own when it's convenient for them. So we actually see that right now, as in-person enrollment is continuing to decline because the economy is good and everybody can get a job, that doesn't mean the people that aren't working don't want to advance their careers, learn more, and they're doing it through online education, just like this class, like you might be taking this class online, for example. When we talk about communications applications, blogs, and browsing, chat, online discussions, email, team-based discussion boards, so Microsoft Team, or I use a product with my students, you'll use it eventually, called Slack, where we can all communicate as a team. So I can communicate and disseminate information out to all of you instead of an individual email, for example. And the cool thing about that is then we can all interact together and communicate, okay? File transfer we've talked about, voice over IP, instant messaging, mobile messaging, video conference, whether it's on our smartphone or on our computer, web feeds. There's just amazing applications. Now, we're going to talk a little bit starting on security. And as we do, of course, the personal firewall is the key. So back with Windows XP Service Pack 2 was the first time we saw a firewall. And what a firewall does is it protects your computer from intrusions. Now, I don't want you to rely just on that firewall. The college, for example, or even at your house, when you set up that little Linksys wireless router, in that is a firewall. And what it does is it blocks people on the internet from being able to get into your computer and get into the data on your network. And it does this with the use of protocols that associate with ports. So an example would be port 25, which is simple mail transfer protocol. If I'm not asking for mail, that port is closed. Once I go out to a server and say, hey, can you give me my mail? It opens up that port, and that server then can talk back to my computer inside my network through that port. So think of this as a door that's closed. If the door is locked, nobody's getting in, okay? If the door has a hole in it that's been opened so specific things like a newspaper or mail can get shoved into that slot, great, but we're not going to shove a whole package in there, right? We're not going to shove a birthday cake through that slot, for example. So we'll use different ports. Hopefully that makes sense. Now, when you buy a security software today, I use Trend Micro, you will get an enhanced version of a firewall that you can implement as well. Pretty important never to put a computer on a network without a firewall, okay? Never a good idea these days to just plug your computer, even though it has a basic firewall, right into the modem and get out to the internet. You're all probably familiar with antivirus software. AVG is a free one. Microsoft Windows now comes with Defender built in, and it does a pretty good job. So it depends on what level of experience you have. People always ask me, well, Eric, you've got a lot of experience with information technology. Do you use antivirus programs? And the answer is yes, yes, and yes. I use I use Trend Micro. I use their highest product. It helps me with things like phishing emails and identity protection. And when I'm browsing the web, making sure I don't go to sites that it notes as being corrupted, that might have viruses, that if I click on something on the site, boom, it gets downloaded to my computer and somebody owns my computer. So, you know, there's the old hacker joke. My other computer is yours. Yeah, hopefully I don't need to say that again. It's true. You know, someone gets access to your computer. Someone may be on your computer and you not even know it. So definitely, if I use antivirus, you all should be using antivirus as well. And the reason we do is for things like spyware, which are programs placed on computers or mobile devices without the user's knowledge that secretly collects information about the user. So this information is then sent back, and it can be used for things like Well, this user likes this or goes to these sites or has been on this site. And from there, we can then apply specific adware, for example, that is going to target things that you would be interested in. So certainly someone who doesn't play any video games at all, if I put up a video game ad, big deal, right? So adware, type of program that displays an online advertisement in a banner or a pop-up window on web pages or email or messages that gets you to try to click on those so that they can sell you something, and in a lot of cases, so that they can get information from you. So spyware removers or adware removers, again, today we don't call those security tools antivirus tools. We call them internet security tools, okay, or security applications. They tend to include things like spyware removers and adware removers and virus detection software, phishing filters, etc., making sure that as I type a website address, if I go to a website that's known to be bad, it's on a blacklist, it's not going to let me go there. So we use a lot of this tools and technologies ahead of our user computers when doing network security, so that if the user gets to the site and whatever they're using in the way of antivirus or security software doesn't yet know, perhaps my firewall, which has this detection built in, might know it as well. So just many levels of securing computers. We don't just rely on antivirus itself. We don't just rely on spyware filters, etc. So anti-spam programs, those are the ones that can remove those emails that have been filtered, that they know went to 100 billion people. Remove that from your email so that you don't have to deal with it. Remove emails that are known to contain malicious software to get you to click on things. And again, in the next chapter, we'll talk about a lot of these security things. Security today is not just the responsibility of the person that's managing the network. Security is your responsibility. It's your data that's being taken, that's being shared, that's being compromised. And a lot of times the end user is the one who becomes responsible for compromising either network security or compromising their own data that's shared. And a great example of that would be getting an email with a link and you're like, I'll just click on it. It's no big deal. And next thing you know, your computer's been infected and someone either has control of your computer or now there's spyware on your computer and everything you do on the web is being sent back to someone, most likely a computer, that's profiling you so that they can then sell that information. So web filtering software, the idea of filtering, say, adult content from children's computers. Phishing filters, so whether it be a phishing email, ones that are big, so ones that we know that this phishing campaign sent out 100,000 emails, we're going to block that domain or we're going to block that particular email address so it doesn't come into the network. You don't accidentally click on it yourself. Pop-up and pop-up blockers built into a lot of operating systems today, especially in browsers, I should say. So most browsers today have pop-up blockers. Sometimes you find that you actually have to turn off the pop-up blocker because a program or a web-based application requires pop-ups in order to operate. So what we would do is we would go in and create a whitelist or acceptable and say, hey, when I'm out here on this domain, it's okay for those pop-ups to come up. A file manager is a tool that performs functions related to file management. So the idea, File Explorer on our computer right here. Right down here, this is File Explorer is an example of a file manager system that we use most commonly. Let me just run this over here. So from here, we can see all of my OneDrives. I can go in and see what kind of storage is on my computer. I can see what's being stored on my desktop, my documents, my downloads, music, pictures, other storage devices I have. So this is a micro SD card, for example, that I store a few virtual machines on because I'm running out of space on my laptop, which is hard to imagine when I have a terabyte of storage. That's 1,024 gigabytes of information. So file managers help us do things like put files together. It also helps us search. So if we're looking for a particular file type, like a document, we can do a *.docx, and it'll search through our hard drive and find all the docx documents. Search tools, we all know about those. Again, built into the operating systems these days, so we can search for things like particular videos. We can search by date and time. We can search by content. So again, a lot of search tools now allow us to search the content of, say, Word documents or PowerPoint documents for certain keywords or phrases or things like that. Image viewers, uninstaller tools for removing software cleanly, disk cleanup tools, we talked briefly about that. Provide a video on how to defrag your computer, pretty important, and why we do that. And that's disk defragmentation. And the reason we do this is because when a disk gets fragmented like this, we have to read this part and then maybe jump over here and read this part and jump over here. Let me give you a quick example as we run out of time. And that is, let's say I had 5 people each holding a piece of information. I've got to ask one person, and then they say, no, I don't have the piece of information. You've got to get this piece first, and then go get this piece. And you could imagine the time it would take to finally put together the information that 5 people had. Well, if I line up those 5 people, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, in a clean row, in the order that they're going to present the data, that's going to be a lot faster. Okay, and that's what we do by defragmenting. We take spare space or open space on a drive, and we'll add this file together and put it in order so it'll be faster to read. Now, this isn't done as much on a solid state drive because it's almost instantaneously that we can pull the data. But we still do utilize those drives. Much faster process, but better off. Most of you know what a screensaver is. We'll talk more about file compression, PC maintenance tools for keeping things, backup tools. I'm going to do some specifics on backup and restore, very important, and summary. So look for that backup and restore, and we'll talk soon.